Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at not every Marvel Legends Wolverine, but all the ones that I think matter. Now, when I had the idea for this video, I thought, I'm going to get them all out, and we'll just look at every single Wolverine that they've released. Then I realized a lot of them are just this guy in different colors, and then a lot of them are just this guy in different colors, so we didn't need to look at all of those. So what I did was I picked out the ones that are the most noteworthy for some reason or another, and we're gonna, by the end of this video, decide which ones are the best ones. If you are looking for a Wolverine Marvel Legends figure and don't know which one to get, this is the video for you. This will help you out. If for some reason, and I'll note this as we're going, if you really like this mold for some reason and want it in different colors, I have reviewed all of them. There are options out there, but I'm gonna tell you, you probably don't wanna go that route. Okay, I'm also not going to talk about things that aren't full-on Wolverine figures. The only one that doesn't have a mask is this one because I wanted to mention it for other reasons. But we're not doing anything that doesn't have a mask. That isn't Wolverine in the truest sense. Like this guy, for instance. Pretty solid figure for what it is. Doesn't make the cut for this video because that's not what we're talking about. He's been reviewed. This is the who's who of good Wolverine figures, essentially. And I know a lot of you are going to say, compare it to Mafex. Compare the best Marvel Legends to Mafex. And we may do that in a different video, particularly when we have the SH Figure Arts. I think we'll do a three-way video across all three of those once they come out. But for now, we're just looking at the Marvel Legends. I'm going to do my best to remember the names. I did do a little bit of homework to make sure I could at least have an idea in my head what they are, but if not, I'll have like overlays and things so you guys can see which ones are which. Now, I want to start with the least of them. This is just, I wanted to mention this because Hasbro actually counted this as an action figure, as a figure in a multi-pack with Mojo, and they couldn't even put the effort into making him stand on his own. He had to have a base, and the only thing that moves is his head, and it's not even painted well. But this counts technically as a Wolverine action figure, and it is noteworthy because there's none other like it. Don't buy it. Don't get that. All right, now the next one I want to talk about is this one. Tried and true, classic, Series 3 Marvel Legends Wolverine. The OG, the original. You could buy this with an alternate head, and I think it was just a variant. I don't think it came in a later wave, but since we're not counting those, it doesn't matter. He did come with a base and things. Oh, that's the other thing I want to mention. I'm not counting accessories, because people who are buying the Wolverine, it's not the accessories that make the figure. And I'll note if there are noteworthy accessories, but they are not factoring into the best Wolverine figure. Core figure is what I'm talking about. But this guy is the OG, the original, and as you can tell, it's very dated. It does not hold up well. Rule number one in action figures is don't sculpt a pose, and they did, so that's the problem. And then it just has other issues. Of course, it's very dated. The weird peeper area is a thing, the very Toy Biz nature of it, but as you can see, in addition to all of the weirdness that came with Toy Biz figures, they do have a certain something about them. Extra paint, extra care went into them for sure. But I don't think this is the one anybody's going to want to go with. So he did start it all, but I think it probably shouldn't continue. Shouldn't continue with him. So let's set him aside. The next one they released, I believe this was Series 6. I think it's Series 6. Was the same series as Deadpool, I believe, if memory serves. This is the first brown suit Wolverine, and interestingly enough, I think maybe your best option for a brown suit Wolverine. Now I say maybe because it's a really hard thing to decide. They haven't done a lot of good brown suit Wolverines. So I think what we'll do is we'll take an aside and just cover the brown suit before we move on with anything else. But this one is the old one. Interestingly enough, it continued to be used, this mold continued to be used more or less, all the way up through the Red Hulk wave. So this guy lasted a while. We got 3 figures from him, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But the interesting thing about this, or at least one of the interesting things, is the sculpt work isn't bad. He is definitely too lanky, but if you look at the individual details on this figure in terms of the sculpt, if you're not counting how skinny he is, there's some decent anatomy going on. The legs look kind of nice. We have a more natural, like, yeah, they're warped a little bit, but we have a natural look to the body rather than being just a brick. So if they were able to somehow just take this figure and scrunch it down to be a better Wolverine size, I think they were really onto something. The articulated fingers, definitely a no-go. And then these claws also suck. So this guy might be a decent option if you're really hurting for a good brown suit Wolverine, but I only say that because of the coloring. I think they did the best coloring on this one if you like this color scheme. We have 2 other ones we'll talk about, technically 3, But unfortunately, I don't think we're there with brown suits yet. I think we need to wait. And some of you might say, what about that new collaboration figure? No, that's not a true brown suit Wolverine. So we're not even going to talk about that. Plus, it's not out yet. And I'm not going to buy it. So yeah, this is the OG brown suit. I don't really recommend it. It is very dated, and obviously there are all kinds of problems with it. I even tried to heat these claws to get them to go back into shape, and it was a problem. So I don't think he's your best choice. Now, as far as brown suits go, the next standard brown suit Wolverine that we'll talk about is the Juggernaut wave. This was the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure wave brown suit Wolverine, not to be confused with the almost exactly the same figure. If I can grab it, if Darwin's not going to be a jerk. This one, it's the same figure, other than the color scheme, just a little bit off. And so the reason I want to talk about this one is I think this is your best option, either one of these, depending on which color scheme you prefer for your brown suit Wolverine. I am not a fan of this body with these shoulders. I think it looks terrible. I don't like these heads. Again, I don't think we have a good brown suit option. Not the least of reasons would be the coloring. They never look right. This one's too red and dark like a mahogany. This one's almost black. I want one that looks more like this, or with less yellow and more of the tan, that looks like this. So for me, we don't really have a good brown suit, but these are your two best options so far. All right, when this body gets reused a lot, but maybe not in the best of ways, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So this figure is also potentially a good option for brown suit Wolverine, but as you can see, it's a very different one. This is the Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure wave. I think so far I'm remembering everything. We'll see. He also comes with the bearded old man looking head, but the reason I picked this is it has a really nice brown to it. It's obviously a different brown suit altogether, but it is noteworthy because for what it is, it's a solid figure, and if this is the brown suit you happen to like rather than the traditional one, then this is a fine pickup for sure. It's definitely not like the best thing ever, but it does work pretty well. And it does have the updated claws, so if you like the curvy claws, the ones that have the curved tips, this would be a good option for you. These guys feature the old claws, which some people might like. They're not the best, especially if you look at the hand. The claws don't even connect to the claw thingies. So yeah, I don't think we have a good brown suit yet, so we're gonna dispense with talking about the brown suits and move on to the black suits. And I know there are different versions of Wolverine, but they're all black suits, so I'm going to group them together. Now, the first time we see a black suit from Hasbro, or from Marvel Legends, is Hasbro in the Red Hulk wave. One of my very first Marvel Legends, still holds a special place in my heart, and like I said about the original brown suit one that uses this same body for the most part, there's something to like about it. Even though it's lanky and gangly and kind of weird looking, it does pose pretty well. Because he's skinny, he can pose nicely. He's got a weird butterfly joint, but it's functional. Maybe the weird hands and things, and the claws kind of suck, and he's loose and has wide jointed hips. It's riddled with problems, but this is, I guess this is like the extreme Wolverine. I don't know, there's different Wolverines, like that guy and this guy that I'm not super familiar with, but either way, this one's a black suit. It's not really X-Force because it has the yellow and doesn't have the gray. I think it's called Extreme, or like Exceptional, or Stupendous, I don't know. But it's a fun figure. It's not the one I would go with, though, if you're going for a black suit, just because, well, I mean, it depends on which black suit you want, of course, but also it has the weird issues like the hands and the claws. They're kind of hard to reconcile because of that. But if you want the black and yellow suit, it is a nice looking figure. Speaking of black and yellow suits, I'm pretty sure this one is actually called Extreme. This one's good. This one doesn't have a cowl, but I wanted to include it because it has what I think might be the best claws out of all of the Wolverine figures ever. They have more of the Hugh Jackman style shape. Maybe they are even the ones from the Hugh Jackman figure, but they're very, very nicely done on this guy. And he also happens to be very well proportioned, a nice matte finish, lots of nice new sculpt work. And as far as the naked heads go, it's a pretty good looking figure. So if you're okay with the black and yellow versus the black and gray, this is an option for you. Now, to go into true X-Force, let's look at this one. This one has not only been repainted into the blues and yellows and astonishing and all the different things, there's also another version of this exact same figure that isn't exclusive. This is the SDCC multi-pack Wolverine. I think it was Psylocke and Archangel with him. I went back and watched my review of this. Boy, is that bad. That's a bad review. I guess all my reviews probably sucked back then if I was saying how much this was a great figure. It's really not. It's got a lot of problems. But it does have something that I think no other Wolverine figure has even come close to matching, and that is the metallic, nicely painted claws. They're actually shiny chrome, just like the Archangel that came in that same pack, and they look really, really nice. Now, it does have some nice things. I think the shape on the body isn't bad. It's kind of a cartoonish look, which I'm okay with. I like stylized comic characters. I don't want them to look like cosplay, but it does have some issues. There's big gapping in the chest and the weird pinched ears and things like that. It's not the best looking figure, but it does have some nice shading on it and some cool claws. If you're willing to struggle with them a little bit, that's a decent option for X-Force Wolverine. Now, kind of like Brown Suit, I don't think we have a great X-Force or any Black Suit Wolverine, but particularly X-Force, because this is your other option. This one was the, not Bonebreaker, which wave was this? Wendigo. This guy was the Wendigo wave, and it's mostly the modern Wolverine body that we've seen a ton of times. Well, we haven't in this video yet, but I've reviewed it a bunch. It has the different feet and gloves, and obviously a different head, but it also has the different hands that have the really flared out claws. They aren't as noticeable on this guy. I think they're actually a different sculpt. I didn't think they were originally, but now that I'm putting them side by side, they're bigger. They're even more flared out and curvy at the end. So if you like the really exaggerated claws, this is a good option. In fact, I think this would be my choice for X-Force Wolverine. The only downside to this guy is the way they did his eyes. They don't look particularly good. I think the eyes look really goofy, honestly. So, again, just like the Brown Suit, I think we're lacking for alternate Wolverine costumes. This would probably be my choice. I'm not thrilled with these claws, honestly, even though I like these ones more because they're less crazy, but I didn't realize those were as crazy. It's been a while since I looked at this figure. I'm struggling to say which one is best, but I would probably go with this one. So yeah, we are stuck not knowing for Brown Suit and Black Suit, either version. Now, as far as yellow and blue, we kind of have to separate them off too. Let's get this guy out of the way first. This is the Bonebreaker wave, and this is not one I recommend for anything, for any reason, ever at all, unless you're just using it for parts, because it does use the same body as most of these. It has the exaggerated claws, but not the crazy exaggerated ones, though they are transparent, red and yellow. Yeah, I know, they have the heat claw. He has the heat claws. But he's also lemon yellow and has the black shoulder pads, and he still has the generic goofy head that these guys came with back then. So I don't think this one's good for anything unless you specifically want the heat claws and the lemon yellow outfit, which I just don't recommend. So let's just get rid of that guy. Now, the next one we have is one of the earlier Marvel Legends, if you couldn't tell. This is from the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave, the old Apocalypse, the good Apocalypse Build-A-Figure, and this is his astonishing suit. And there's a lot to like about this figure, but as you can tell, he is tiny and skinny, and so he's short and skinny, and he's just weird. It's really weird looking, but the whole figure is covered in sculpted detail. The whole suit has texture and stitching, and yeah, the arms are a little bit weird, but there's some nice things going on here for sure. He's a standout, but he's also a standout for bad reasons too. The split belt is the thing that always killed me. It's like, I get that you have to do a waist twist, but you had to think more about it than that. Splitting that belt is just craziness to me, but for what he is, being a tiny little weird, gangly gremlin looking Wolverine, there's something to like about him with the extra paint, and he is fairly posable because of the gangly nature. So no, I do not recommend this for this particular type of suit. Despite its qualities, it's probably not worth picking up. Alright, so let's continue on to the more traditional looking, but wait, we have to talk about this one. This guy's not a traditional looking Wolverine, it's the, well, I almost said face-off. It's not the face-off Wolverine, that figure doesn't hold up well at all. This is the Cat Wolverine from, I think it's 85th anniversary, whatever. It's a Hulk 2-pack, and it's not bad. In some ways. It is very bright yellow, and the skin has the molded hair on the arms. Luckily, it's not as bad as some of them. But here's the downside for this guy, because I actually think the blue-yellow combo, it's nice. It does look like that traditional look for him. Or not traditional, but retro. The face is just... oof. It is not... it's not good. So if you want to repaint this, this is a good option for you. But if you don't want to repaint it, then you are going to end up with not a good looking Wolverine. But if you want the Cat, this is the one to go with. The face-off one that came with Sabretooth forever ago, not a good figure, doesn't hold up. So this is the choice I would recommend for this, but his face is gnarly. But I do like the little shoulder pads and the color scheme. It's pretty well executed. All right, moving on now to this. I'm saving that guy for last, not last, but I haven't touched on him yet because he's obviously better than this guy, so we don't need to talk about it right now. We'll get back to him. This guy, Red Hulk Wave, same thing as the black and yellow one, and it's fine. Again, it has its benefits. The lemon yellow, the darker blue, it looks nice in some ways. We do still have the weird shading, or not shading, the fur, the hair on the arms. It's not a good Wolverine figure for many reasons, especially the gangliness, like we already talked about, the super dated articulation for the hands and things. Like, yeah, it shows its age for sure. It still can get into some nice poses. If you can get his claws to straighten out, they're not bad. They're fairly metallic looking, so that's nice. And the paint job for the black is alright. There's definitely some good to be had here, but it is, again, kind of skinny and gremlin-y and weird looking, so it's probably not the one to go with. Alright, let's move on to... I think this guy might have been the first of the modern Wolverines. I think he might have been. I can't remember. No, they didn't have the shoulder pads at first. This is the first of the ones that look like this. So this guy came in the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave, the modern Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave, and he was the go-to for a long time. I don't think he is still the go-to, though. As you might have guessed, we're working our way up to what I think is going to be the best choices. But this guy's nice. He's a very solid choice. If you want the Tiger Stripe Wolverine with the darker yellow, as you notice, a lot of these guys are very lemony, which is fine. Wolverine typically looks like that. If you want the darker yellow, especially if you want the metallic blue shoulder pads and the darker blue everywhere else, this is a really good pickup. He does have these wimpy claws, which I don't think many people really liked very much, and it's because they're not very good. And he does have this kind of blocky, weird head too, but I think it's one of the better ones. Mine has a chip in the mouth, don't worry about that. He's a sure bet. If you like this color scheme, you can definitely go with this, and you could do a whole lot worse. I think it holds up very well. It's a very nice figure. We do have the same sculpted details in the arms for the hair. No paint. I don't love that. I don't think that's the way to go. I don't think you should sculpt the hair personally. I think just throwing some paint on there, if you're going to do it, is the way to do it. But it's not bad. His aren't like burn victim looking arms as much as some of the other ones, which we'll get to in a minute. So yeah, he's a very good choice if you're looking for Tiger Stripe Wolverine. I do think my personal choice, if you're going for one of the ones with the older body, is this one. This one came in the 3-pack with Cyclops and Jean. He's got the lighter yellow and the darker blue, which may not be what you're looking for. He also has a totally different skin tone for the arms, and there is shading on the arms, which I'm not sure if that's meant to be hair or shading, but he has a more of an olivey tone for the skin, and then a darker tone on the outside. It kind of works for either shading or hair. Either way, the head's the same, the body's the same, everything's the same, except, like I mentioned, for some figures, some of the accessories are noteworthy. He does come with the bone claws. So if you want bone claws, this is your only good option. He also comes with regular claws too, so unfortunately you have to buy him in a 3-pack unless you're scooping them up individually. This might be the best choice for this older body Wolverine if you wanted to get one of these. The bone claws are excellent, by the way. They're some of the best claws Hasbro's made. This guy's just been stuffed in a bag, and this one's a little bit pinchy, but otherwise the claws are still looking great. And the color scheme works. So yeah, if you want bone claws, or if you want the more lemon yellow as opposed to the school bus or number 2 pencil yellow, this guy's a perfectly good pickup. But those guys both got replaced by this guy. And when this guy came out, he became everyone's favorite. And we're going to see, is he actually that good? Well, first of all, he's got the X-Men animated, the VHS box set paint job. So, if you want to remove that, you could. Good luck doing it around the black parts. But yeah, he does have that box set look to him. And if you don't like that, then it's no good. The other thing worth mentioning is his skin tone is really pale and pink, and it's not particularly good. He still has the same arms. It's basically the same figure, but has the new head. Granted, the new head sits too high and looks a little goofy. So, is this my favorite Wolverine? No, I don't think this is the one you should go with, unless you really want the VHS shading, which is mostly on that side. If you go to this side, you don't see it too much. But yeah, I just don't really care for the look. I don't like the way they did the mouth on these heads. The cowl looks nice. It's the only thing that really matches the cartoon in that category for the cowl, but he does have the new claws. He has the circular or the cylindrical claws. So yeah, if you want the cartoon look, this might be your option. And some people still say this is the best pick. Some people say this is the best pick, and this is the X-Men 97 version, which is exactly the same figure, but different colors. And for me, I'm sorry, it's not exactly the same figure. It's exactly the same body, except for the legs and the arms. Maybe the feet too, I don't know. Yeah, the feet are different too. So, it's not exactly the same, I misspoke. The arms are the worst thing ever. I hate these arms completely, and I can't do this figure. The way they sculpted the hair like fur, he actually looks like his arms have been melted or something. And there's no paint on him, and the coloring on this figure is just not good. He's way too yellowy in the blues. The blues are not right, and I don't care for the skin tone, particularly in conjunction with the blues and yellows, and the way they did his beard. I don't care for that. He looks pubescent. Prepubescent / pubescent at the same time. So yeah, if I had to pick one of these, I would go with this one, but I wouldn't pick either of these, honestly. I think if you're going for the older molds, the way to go would be to get one of these. Either one of these guys would be the way to go for the older molds. However, I don't think those are the best options. I think the two best Wolverine figures we have are these two. We'll start with this one. It came out first. He was some kind of anniversary pack. Obviously, he's not the tiger stripe version, but he is all new sculpt. And I'm not going to gush over him like some people do, because he does have really big arms. He's kind of gorilla shaped, but also he's really nice. In fact, now that we're at this point, we can just move this guy so we don't have that ugly background. So it's there's a lot to like about this guy. All new sculpt, new articulation. He has the better claws, if you ask me. It depends on the kind of claws you like, but they are very nice. They're the Hugh Jackman style claws. And the only thing this guy's really missing, other than tweaking some things here and there, like he's got weird torso articulation, he doesn't have boot swivels, which sucks. But he does have pretty much everything else, and he looks nice. And this is probably, if you're going for a more realistic look, this is probably the way to do the arms for the hair. They have some texture sculpted, but they also did a very fine paint job to make it look more like hair. To me, that's way better than this. I don't like the sculpted unpainted hair. I don't think that's a good choice, and a lot of these have it. This one's a lot more subtle. It looks more like muscle striations. Still don't care for it, and I don't like any of the arms that have that, and obviously that's not a better option either. I think this is the best in terms of paint job for a more realistic look. But yeah, this figure looks really good. It's not perfect, it definitely has its flaws, but he's very well proportioned. He is a unique sculpt, so all the things are sculpted on there, and he does pose pretty well despite the few shortcomings. But then we have the most recent release, which is the Marvel vs. Capcom one, and I'm going to address the height. I know some of you are going to say, you can't say he's the best Wolverine, he's too tall. Well, first of all, I can, but I'm going to talk about the height, so just wait. So this guy, also brand new sculpt, and he is actually built like a little monster, which I think is the best thing for Wolverine. Now granted, you have to want the Marvel vs. Capcom look, because he's got the very big ears, he's got the very big claws. Alright, I think everything else you could probably get by with, but it is a very specific look. His skin is a little bit pink, his knees don't match. Those are the biggest issues. Otherwise, I guess he doesn't have a boot swivel either. So yeah, he does have some flaws. Some people don't like that his chest doesn't have as much of a butterfly, but he is easily the best shaped Wolverine overall. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have to do the height thing. We have to talk about the height thing, because one of the biggest complaints about this figure right here, which is the one I think is the best, to be clear, is that he's too tall. And my response to that in my review and in comments on various social media places is that yes, he's a little bit too big, but he is by far the best looking sculpt we've seen from basically any Marvel Legends ever. So if you're willing to accept all of those goofy, lumpy sculpts, then you should also be willing to accept that he's just a little bit too tall, because the rest of the figure is excellent. Why is it okay? Now this is obviously not the best example, but why is it okay for most Marvel Legends to look like this? Granted, Darwin's a little bit, he's a cut above. But why is it okay for this, but not for Wolverine's height to be a little bit too big? When anyway, all of the other Wolverines are too tall anyway. None of them are the 5'3", like not even close. So how much does it really matter to you? That's up to you. My argument is that it shouldn't matter enough, because he's not like he's taller than everyone else. But we're going to do some height comparisons just so that you can see, so that you can make your own decision. But you'll see it's maybe not as big of a deal, probably, I'm thinking, for most of you. So let's just bring him out. The reason I wanted to do this separate is because I wanted to move the camera so that we have a pretty good angle. Let's make sure we get it right where we want it to be to not skew any results. We're just going to stand him right there. I've got him standing straight up. I have tried to adjust all of their necks to not be lollipopped. Okay, so for an example, who do I have here that I can show you on? This one. You can make the neck look extra tall, or make the head look extra tall if you stick it back like that. I didn't do that. I pulled them forward to give them the fairest shot of being not too tall. Okay, so we'll start with this one, which is, I think, the second best Wolverine figure, despite his problems. How much taller is the new Wolverine? He's about the difference of the nose to the eyes. Like, his nose lines up with this Wolverine's eyes, and this guy's looking down a little bit, so we'll even adjust that. Maybe I was too harsh on correcting him, and we'll stand him up straight. We're just going to be extra strict here. It's not even the distance from the nose to the eyes. The difference is minimal. Nobody complained about this guy being too tall, and look at the difference in their heads. At the top of the head, it's almost the same. This guy's just way chunkier, way bulkier, so he looks bigger. This is how all of the comic figures should be sculpted. I mean, not the thickness, but the stylization, the extra bulk, the inhuman build. Make all of the superheroes as muscular and unrealistic as they should be, like this guy is, and he wouldn't stand out. That was my argument. So this guy's almost the same height. He is a touch shorter. This guy is quite a bit shorter. So it depends which one you're comparing against. It's a decent amount. So yeah, he's definitely a lot bigger than this guy. I don't remember anybody saying this one was too tall, but either way, it's totally up to you. You guys get to decide what you care about. Here's one of the go-to Wolverine bodies for a long time. Oh, look at that. He's taller. He's taller. Nobody was complaining about Wolverine heights until this figure came out, and I can't for the life of me figure it out. This guy, which was used like, I don't know, for 10 different Wolverines maybe, nobody ever said, oh, he's too tall, other than like the general all Wolverines are too tall comment, but everybody just accepted it. As soon as they make this excellent looking figure, all of a sudden the height is the biggest thing in the world. This guy got used tons of times, and he's taller than this one. He's taller. Yeah, I think it's such a silly argument to complain about this Wolverine. Like, I get that he's too tall, but not in any way that makes a difference. Oh, look at that. The original Wolverine is taller too. So even with all of the Marvel Legends height creep that's gone on, he's really not a standout. Like, yes, he's taller than 5'3", but Wolverine at 5'3" would be down to here. None of them are. None of them are even close. Well, I guess there's a couple really short ones, but none of them are even close. So to pick on this one for being too tall, when it is tall, but just by a little bit, to me, that's so silly when it's such a good figure. And here's the other one that people tend to go to as being the best, or at least it's mostly the same. He is taller, for sure. Is that enough for you to not buy a figure that's excellent in so many other ways? It's not that much bigger. It's, like I said, it's about the distance from the nose to the eyes. And just because this isn't the exact same sculpt, we'll do this one too, just to be fair. Because I think some people prefer this, even though he's got the weird orange flesh tones. It's not, he's leaning back. It's not that big of a difference. It's really not. It is a difference. To be clear, it is a difference. I acknowledge that. But to discount this guy because of the height? No way. And yeah, you can say, well, this is an old body, nobody uses that anymore. Still, he's taller. It's just such a silly thing for me, with all of the flaws that 99% of Marvel Legends have, to pick on this guy for being just a little bit too tall when he looks that good. It is just preposterous, if you want my opinion. And so, considering the fact that he is a little bit taller than most other Wolverines, but not all of them, and in some cases he's shorter, it's still a standout in every other way. It's such a good release, unless you only care about the boot swivel, in which case it sucks because they didn't do it. But there you go. There's the height part, and now we can get back to the rest of the review. If you can get past the claws in the ears, for instance, you're set. If you're okay with the Marvel vs. Capcom look, this is the one I recommend. It's the one I enjoy the most by far. It's not even close. The ball pegs in the torso, the whole new build where he's actually built like a little tank. I love it. This is the most comic-y, cartoony, video gamey Wolverine out of all of them by a lot. This is the one I recommend as the one to get if you're only going to get one, if you're okay with the specific features. If you're not, I recommend this one. If you're okay with these specific features, these are two very specific looks for Wolverine. And then if you're not okay with those, I recommend one of these. These are the choices I would pick. Out of all of the Wolverines, I think these are your best bets. I don't think the animated ones, whether it's the classic animated one or the 97 one, I don't think they hold up. I don't think there's a particularly good brown suit or either of the black suits. So if you're going for those, you just have to do the best you can. But if you're going for these, if you want this particular look, obviously this is the one. But if you're just going for a yellow and blue Wolverine and don't really care, these are your choices that are the best. I think these are your choices that are the really best, and I think this is the one that wins, that takes the cake. This is an incredibly fun figure, despite whatever few shortcomings it has. It's wonderful, and it's great to look at because he's actually built like the little furry furball that he's supposed to be. He does have the cartoon style shading, or hair, but because it's clearly stylized, I don't mind it. And because it's placed a little bit better than something like this, it doesn't bother me. And I'm curious what you guys think. What kind of hair do you prefer on Wolverine's arms? Would you rather they just be bare? Or would you rather they look like... Where'd you go? Would you rather they look like that? See, I personally would rather they be bare. So this being a little bit less intrusive, I like that more. But yeah, that's the one. So, until we see, which coincidentally, until we see the Marvel vs. Capcom one from Figure Arts, this is the figure I would go with for Marvel Legends. I'll tell you, I think this is the figure I would go with over the Mafex one as well, but I will do a video about Mafex and Marvel Legends, maybe on their own if you guys really want it, but definitely including the Figure Arts one once that releases, and we'll have to talk about that. But this is the one. I think this is the best one. It's the most recent one, so it kind of makes sense, but this is the one to go with. And you guys can let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below, but that's it. That's my Super Wolverine comparative review. I would go with this one. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.